Our Serengeti project had to do with animals' behavior within the habitat analyzed through camera traps. One of the primary articles I used was applying a random encounter model to estimate lion density from camera traps in Serengeti National Park, Tanzania. And this presentation is by myself, Jennifer Soto. Here are some examples of some camera trap images we witnessed. These two on the right from lions. And then this picture on the left is an example of what a camera trap looked like. And the reason we use camera traps were because our environment is constantly changing and evolving. Since our human population is unable to directly communicate with animals, continuous monitoring and analysis of natural habitats in order to protect and preserve the ecological system is used, especially because we don't want to disturb their natural habitat and environment. So this is a great way for us to see how animals interact with one another. And camera traps are used to monitor a specific area zone 24/7, offer continuous sampling. They are used in many fields such as conservation, wildlife behavior, invasive species, and are able to monitor location, movement, distance, species, interaction, and many more. For example, a study conducted by Jeremy J. Cusack investigated animal density from camera trap data, specifically from female lions, using random encounter models, camera traps, in the Serengeti National Park. Our experiment was similar, in which we analyzed data involving a variety of pictures at different locations and times, which was compiled into a data file, and an analysis of these pictures was conducted. Each picture was labeled on the following categories: species, individuals, standing, resting, moving, eating, interacting, and babies. These camera trap cameras were placed 1 kilometer apart from one another that spanned over 30 kilometers in the Serengeti. The data was imported in an Excel file called JMP, and a search was done throughout the pictures. They were cross-referenced with data previously compiled within the system to find exact photos that coincide with the exact longitude, latitude, habitat, shade, distance to river, line risk, wetness, dryness, distance to conjoining river, distance to kopjes of each picture. Once enough data was collected and analyzed from the lion and lioness pictures, several graphs were completed. For graph number 1, line risk dry versus distance to river, this graph shows a correlation between the line risk during dry season and their distance to river, as seen above. There is a larger density of line risk dry within the 0 to 1,000 millimeters to the river, which illustrates there are more lions closer to the river during the dry season because rivers are a main resource for water. And in graph number 2, distance to river versus lion female and lion male species, this graph shows a comparison between the female lion and male lion species and their distance to the river. As seen in the graph, the female lion has a larger amount of individuals present, 0 to 1,000 millimeters from the river in comparison to the male lions. And according to a study done by Scheel and Packer, male lions were seen to be less accomplished hunters than females, as males refrain more and pursue less than females. This would support why in graph 2 the female lion has a larger amount of individuals present, from 0 to 1,000 millimeters from the river, in comparison to the male lions, as female lions are the pride's primary hunters and leaders. Moving on to graph number 3, the lion risk versus distance to river and correlation to zebras. This graph shows a correlation between woodlands and lion risk for zebras. We see a correlation between woodlands and lions for zebras because there is a higher density within the 0 to 1,000 millimeters distance to river for zebras and lions, which can lead to a prediction that zebras will have a higher risk of being hunted by lions, considering zebras are one of the lion's main prey. In conclusion, our hypothesis: the closer an animal is to a river, the higher a lion risk a prey animal will have, was supported by the investigation and data gathered due to the graphs illustrated before and our explanations and articles to support. To further test our ideas on this experiment and limit errors, we would expand our resources of data, since ours was limited and sometimes cameras do not send pictures of the animals within the habitat or these images could be misinterpreted. Overall, but still, camera traps are still useful technology that is still developing and improving, which allows humans to investigate wildlife with less risks and interference.